Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining. I see our numbers are still climbing a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's training is going to be on OneDrive. It's a storage utility that allows us to have large volumes of data stored at Microsoft. You can put your files there. You can share them with either internal Saga employees or just like Dropbox, you can share them with outside people. I'm not going to speak too much because I'm getting over a cold. Before we go to Mary, Matt's been a user of Dropbox of OneDrive. Did you have anything that you wanted to throw in, Matt?
Yeah. I would just have to say that I've used Dropbox for years, and for those of us who have used it, it's a great way to store and share really big files. You don't have to put major attachments in your emails or whatever, and it makes things easy for production directors, for sellers who want to share some presentations, for digital guys who are trying to manage multiple files across multiple devices. Dropbox is great. It's easy. It's ubiquitous. Once we kind of got into the new Microsoft products recently, I kind of gave this a try, and I know Tracy had been talking about wanting to get folks weaned off of Dropbox for a number of really good reasons, and so I started using it about 6 months ago, and I got to honestly say I really like it. It integrates really well with everything we're doing, and I say that as a Macintosh user. I'm an Apple user, and it actually works pretty well on my Mac, and it works even better on our Windows machines. So change can be scary. It can be kind of a pain to transfer things, but this is definitely well worth it. It adds a lot of extra great security. It's, again, easy to use. It'll sync across devices. I'm not going to give the presentation now because Mary is much more qualified than I am to do that, but we're glad that you guys have taken some time out of your day to look at this, and we'd be happy to help kind of assist you in some of the transition that might go on after this presentation. So I'm not going to belabor the point, but I definitely wanted to say, yay, this is good. It's dry, but it's fun. This will definitely help you in your workflow. So Mary Yeoman is here to present this to us. And so Mary, I guess I'm just going to hand it off to you.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Well, we'll go ahead and get started looking at what we're going to be covering this afternoon. So we kind of already a little bit talked about what the why for OneDrive for Business, as well as some things, but we'll go into a little bit more detail on that, looking at the differences between, there's a OneDrive and there's also OneDrive for Business. We're going to clarify a little bit of that so we can hopefully alleviate some confusion there. There's also a OneDrive app versus the OneDrive Online. So we're going to show you the differences between both of those as well. So, and then of course all the things it can do when you get in and create files and share files, move files around, deleting things, renaming things, all the little goody stuff. And I always like to throw some added extra things in there, things that I found that are kind of cool. So we'll go over a few things along those lines, and then have some time for demo at the end. So initially, the first part of the presentation is just going to be more screenshot and just kind of showing you just kind of how it looks for the time being. And then toward the end, we're going to get into some more demo and actually show you how to go in and actually do some of the things that we're going to talk about. So, and at the very end, we'll have some time for questions. So let's get started. So getting into and looking at OneDrive for Business, as Matt and Tracy already talked about, with what it is, the cloud file storage out there where you can easily access things, share things, internally, externally, all that stuff. So then getting into what is the difference between the OneDrive for Business and OneDrive is the OneDrive for Business is designed more for the corporate use. So that's the way that it actually can be shared between network users and external clients. The OneDrive that comes with Windows 10 is one and some of you may have it and some of you may not, and I know they're going to be kind of going through and kind of cleaning things up so there's less confusion, but we want to make sure that the users are using the OneDrive for Business versus the OneDrive application out there. So the storage, just FYI for that, is it's a terabyte for each individual, so that is quite a bit of space out there, but as people are using it, it can start adding up pretty quickly, so 1 terabyte. So getting into the OneDrive Business app versus the online piece, most of us use the Office 365 integration, so the OneDrive piece that's out there, the online version. But then there's also the app, which is more for on your computer. So that way you can sync things to your computer, be able to have them in both locations in the cloud and on your system. Not everybody has this, but it can be installed upon request. So we just ask that you contact your engineer or IT person to get this installed. So Matt and Tracy already kind of went over this, but it is going to be a replacement for Dropbox, and of course it's similar to all those other tools out there as well. And there's just been, a number of things that have come up over time, whether there's some risks and things like that as well. So hence why we're moving over to the OneDrive side of things. Okay, so let's kind of get into what this business, the business app, OneDrive for Business app looks like. So this is just a quick screenshot of what the structure looks like out on there with the ribbon and things like that. So when you go out to create a folder, it's pretty easy. There's a new folder button right there you can be able to access. Of course, you get the opportunity to give it a name. You need to rename something, so it's just as easy as selecting the folder and clicking the rename button, or as I like right-clicking on a lot of different areas, you right-click and choose rename as an option. As far as getting in and creating files, however, there's a new items button that's on that toolbar as well on that ribbon, and then this is where you can also add new folders, as we just saw, or you can go in and actually add in Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, and things like that. So it actually is just kind of creating the file. You can name it, and then you just double-click and open it up. And this actually uses the file or the program on your computer versus in the Office 365 platform. Saving a file, so if you happen to go in and just launch Word and you want to go in and open up start working on a file and you want to do a file save as, you just find that OneDrive Saga Communications folder that you'd be able to save to, and then of course find any other folder location at there if you've created another folder and move that in there, and of course save into that location. So it's another way of being able to go in and save your files. Moving files around, pretty easy to do. Just like a lot of things on your computer, you just be able to left click and drag it into that folder. Of course, it's going to give you that little move icon. A lot of times when we click on those and move them around, we don't even see that move icon. We sometimes do it so fast that you left click and drag and just drop it in there. In this case, it's telling exactly which folder it's moving into. So, and if all needs to be, if you happen to do it too fast, you can always undo. That's one of the things we'll talk about here in a little bit. Sharing, so out on that ribbon, there's a share tab, and there are a couple different sharing options. So whether you're doing a direct share or email, this particular share, when you click that share button, it will bring over a pane over on the right-hand side of your screen, and you have some different options. Now, in my particular view, I had mail, so what it does is it brings up like a little mail view within your view, and it sends it just like it would an email. A little different than the next option, which is just email, and this one actually brings up your Outlook, an Outlook message that you'd be able to email from this way, and it puts it in as into your message this way, and you can send it just like you normally would send an email message. The share with, so under that share category, there's a share with. If you happen to look and see if you want to take a particular file and share it with some individual, you can look up in the basically a little search box there to be able to type in someone's name, and then you can give them permission. Depending on what level of permission, you can give them kind of more of a view or edit, kind of a read or write access, if you will, and then you can say share, so that way they know they have access to it. All right, so moving into some of those added extras that we already talked about. So when we talked about moving the folders around every once in a while, you may accidentally move a folder or a file into another spot that you didn't mean to, you might need to undo. Well, up in that upper left-hand corner, this is the quick access toolbar, which some of you may be familiar with in some of the Microsoft applications. Has some hidden gems in there and a lot of the different products. And this particular one in the app, you can actually go up there and add in some other buttons. In this case, there's the undo. So if you happen to need him quickly, you can use that little option either under the drop down or do a Control Z. The quick access, over on the left-hand side of the app view, you'll be able to add folders over there. So as you're starting to add folders and different content into the OneDrive for Business, you'll be able to see a possible need that you might want to add a folder over there for quick access. So what you do is basically access that folder, and you can jump in there, and in this case I'm in that Project ABC folder, and then I want to add that as far as a folder under my quick access. I can right click on the quick access, or as it shows there down on the other side below, kind of where the arrow is pointing there, Project ABC, I can hit that little push pin and it'll add it to my quick access there too. So it's very handy, especially if you've got multiple folders that you need to quickly get into without having to drill down all the time and find your folder that you need to access. And of course, unpinning a folder is pretty easy. You can either unpush the push pin, or you can right click and choose to unpin it from that quick access location. So let's switch a little gears here, going into the OneDrive Online. Under that New button, and this is where we're going to go in here in a little bit and show you some more demo, more on the online side. But under the New button there, you have those options. First of all is that folder. So just as we saw from the app side of things, we're going to go over some similar things on the online side. So creating a folder, you can go in there real quick. It asks you to create a name in there, enter a name in there, and then you can say create. If it happens to be later on that you need to rename that folder, you can simply select that folder using that little check mark to the left of the folder location or that folder name. And then on the toolbar right above, you can choose the rename button. If you like to be able to right click, which I do a lot of right clicking, you can choose to rename that way as well and then have the opportunity to change that name in there. Deleting a folder, same thing. You'll go ahead and select that box, that little check box next or check mark next to that name. And then again, choose the delete option or right click and then choose to delete. All right, creating files, similar as the folder as we saw earlier, but in this case, once you go ahead and choose one of those Word documents or Excel spreadsheets or whatever the case is, you can choose the Word document and it'll actually launch it within Office 365 where you can start working on it. What looks a little bit different, what we'll see from the next view here, is you actually can name or save the file within it without having to do, say, a file save as, kind of as we're all used to with that. So just going up and clicking where it says document up at the very top, kind of in that black and gray bar there, you get the opportunity, if you hover there, it'll say rename file. I click, I type in a name there, and then it renames it to whatever I typed in there. In this case, projectscript.docx. Very easy, and then I can just go ahead and rename it again if I happen to, want to change the name. Just go up there and type in a new name. As far as moving files, again, very similar as we saw on the app side. You just left click and drag things. In this case, I'm moving folders around, so that miscellaneous folder is trying to go into that new folder there. And of course, I'm doing it slow enough so I can actually see what's going on. Sometimes we do it a little quickly. But it'll tell you exactly where things are going to go as you're moving things around. As far as uploading files, you have to be in that folder location that you're currently on without any files selected. And then there's the upload button up at the very top where it'll give you an open dialog box where you can then go out and search for the file that you want to be able to upload out into your OneDrive folder. Pretty easy to do. Syncing. So if you do have the ability to take the online and sync it down to the app that's on your computer, then you use the sync feature that's out on the online version. And a window comes up, it just says to sync now. And now what it would happen is it's going to bring up a box and says, okay, syncing now, and it may ask you to confirm the folder that you're syncing to, which is pretty common. That's what it has done for me anyway. You choose to sync now, and then it updates your files that are on your computer. All right, as far as sharing files, there's a couple different options. So in this particular one, I went out and shared my spreadsheet, this book file that we have open here. The first option is inviting people. So as we saw with the app, I can go ahead and share that with them and give them editing or viewing rights. Search from just typing in a name, it'll try and search for a match in there. And then you can send a little option as far as a message if you really want that in there, and then you can click share. It will notify them that they have access. And then the next option is getting a link. So if you needed to take this and say send it, copy and paste it into an email message for someone to have access versus sending them an email with the file or just sending them, hey, you have access to this now or whatever. Get a link is a nice option because you can not only do for Integral, as you see there, has the Saga Communications account, and then no sign-in required, so those are for more like clients and things like that. The ones that are the no sign-in required do have expiration options in there, so if you need to say, okay, you know, a couple days or a week, or you can even set it to none, which is probably not recommended. But you can then set it to those particular links. You can right-click on that link. It'll give you the copy option, and then you can put it into your email message. The shared with, this one's kind of a nice one to look at, especially if you've got a file that you've shared for a while and you're curious to who has access to it. This particular one, only one person has access, but if you had multiple, there would be more names listed here, and then you could select names and tell it to stop sharing. The other thing you can do with it is to email everyone. So if you happen to, say, make an update to it and you wanted everybody to know that this is the latest and greatest version of it, then you can send a little message to everyone who has access to that file. And then the advanced option goes more to more permission changes. So maybe you had someone that had view rights originally and now they need editing rights. You can make those changes in there as well. Okay, so here's the netted extra, and we're going to show this in the demo as well. The preview, this is kind of a cool thing to be able to look at. So under that particular file location, if you right-click, or actually left-click on that little, left-click, I'm so used to right-clicking on things. Left-click on those little three dots just to the right of the document name. You'll get a details option. And in there, it will open up a box on kind of the right-hand side of your view, a little preview box. And in this case, there's the presentation that we're looking at right there. And I could use the little arrows to go from slide to slide if I wanted to in there. So it gives you a little preview without having to go into it completely. You know, especially if you've got multiple files that might have, you have different versions, or you know, they may look similar. You might just want to take a brief look at the first couple pages of things. It'll show you a little preview of it, so that way you don't have to fully open the file and realize that you've got the wrong one open and have to start all over again. So there's other options within this preview pane too, so if you scroll through it, you'll be able to see some of the sharing options as well as some other things in here too that we've seen in other views. Recent file list. This one's nice, especially if you've got several different documents that you've been working on over the last couple days and you don't want to have to go find it every time that you need it. So recent file list, it will keep those. In this case, I have the recent 6 that I happen to be working on out here, and I can just quickly click on them. It gives me a little bit of a preview, which sometimes can be a little helpful depending on the document type. And then I can just jump into that particular file versus, again, having to hunt and search for it through all my folder structure. Another thing to think about is your recycle bin. Anytime that you delete anything, it's a folder, a file, or whatever, it goes to the recycle bin. So if you need to get that back for whatever reason, maybe you inadvertently deleted it, or maybe you're just curious to see how much is out in the recycle bin, maybe you need to purge things out of there, whatever the case is, you can go out there and take a look. Obviously, to get things back, you can check that box and choose the restore option in there, or you can tell it, well, I want to delete that specific thing, I can hit the delete selection, or just empty the entire thing too. We do have a retainment of 30 days, and it's from the recycle, when it's from the recycle, once it's in the recycle bin and then deleted, I believe. I'll have to double check that, but I believe that's what it is. All right, let's go into some demo here. So real quick, we're just going to go over kind of the similar things as we saw earlier in my presentation, but just quickly looking over the new options. So there's that folder again so that I could create. There's that Word document. I'm just going to show you this real quick. So just a quick Word document. I could go in there. It opens up a new tab, brings up a new document. I can go in and change that name very easily just by clicking up here. Whatever the case is up there, I have all the access that I need to be able to jump around and get to the pieces that I need in there as well. Things like that. I'm going to jump back over to my list here. As far as the uploading, there's where that comes in, where I can start going in and looking for file locations if I need to, or folders that I need to bring in documents from. The details thing that I was going to show you, so if we go into the little dot, dot, dot here, if I left click on that, and it's not giving me, there it is, kind of go down here. Oh, my view's not showing. Let me get down to my view here. Hold on one second. Come on, there it goes. Of course it happens, right at live demo. Okay. So there's a little preview over here, and so I can actually go through here and actually go through each of the slides that we saw at the beginning of our presentation. It's kind of small for you guys to see, but it gives you a little snippet of what you can do with the details view. So, and to get this off, you can just go back to your details again, and you can turn that off. The recent files, there's that recent files as we saw over here. So there's all the different documents. There's that one document that I just edited that's still sitting in my background here. So now I've got one more thing that's part of my recent. The recycle bin again. Oh, I don't have anything sitting out there right now. But anyway, there's a few things that you could add out there as well. Be able to clear out or add things in there. I could delete something, add back in there if I needed to. Okay. From what Matt was saying, I mean, for the most part, things are pretty easy to be able to go around and use different things out here to either move documents around, rename things, get things uploaded, syncing things down. It's a fairly straightforward system to use. What questions do you guys have? Let's bring it back to Matt and see if there's any questions out there from people.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, they're not able to speak, but you could type that into the questions pane, and I can read those. I'll read those out to Mary as they come in. Here's one. When I click on OneDrive for Business, it asks me about a library to sync, and it asks me to give it a library. What does that mean? Mary?
A library. Is that the one? And I'm sorry, I'm not fully understanding the. I understand the question, but the library itself, isn't that where it actually pulls in, where you have to tell it where you're wanting to pull in the?
Yeah, as far as I understand, that would be the folder or the directory that you want to sync with your OneDrive account. So
location on the local computer?
Yeah.
Okay. So you choose like My Documents or create a separate folder where you wanted those items to be synced from with the local machine?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Another great question. Is this already set up, and how do I access it?
It is already set up. It is part of your Windows, either an E1 or an E3 licensing that Saga's provided you with for it. The website to access the pieces that Mary provided is portal.office.com. It uses the same username, your primary email address, and the password that you use to start up in the morning. The syncing tools are something that we'll be working with to get the engineers and getting that component installed on the machines for users that are ready to take advantage of it. But it's already set up. The space is already allocated. It's all part of the 365 suite.
Right. Got a question here. Can you please show how to share documents with other users? I think you covered that briefly, but maybe we can talk a little bit more about how you do that and why, whatnot.
So, like for example, here, if I were wanting to share a document here, there's a couple different ways I could do it. I could select it here, and I could go up to share. and it's going to give the option here now. Let's see if I can find Tracy here. I'm going to find Tracy. There he is, like this, and then I can tell him that, hey, to be able to do this, and then I can change whether or not he has editing rights or view rights here, like this, and then I can tell it to share. And then he gets a notification saying that he has access to that document now.
Can you do that same demonstration again, Mary, with for people outside of the company? So that's how you would choose to share with an employee, is you'd be able to see them from our company directory.
Gotcha. Okay. So yes, if we go into, and I guess I'm going to go in a different way. There's a couple different ways to do it. So if I can go in and do share, typically you're going to be using the link. So something like this is a no sign-in required. Now, depending on if they want to view or edit it, and and I guess it'd be kind of up to you. I'm thinking probably more viewing than editing, but that kind of thing. So here I would take this and I would copy it. And then there would be an email message that, say, I wanted to bring up, and I don't have my Outlook right here, but I could take that and copy and paste it into an email message, which then would get sent to them.
So just to kind of fill in for our people, if you had a audio clip or something like that was in here that you were sharing with a customer, for them to either make changes to it or whatever, you'd either share it with view only if they were going to just listen to it, or you could give them edit capability if they needed to be able to modify it. Anybody you send this link to, you can send it to 25 email addresses. Anybody that you send it to then has that access to that file to either listen to it or modify it. If it's it can obviously be any of the Office suite. You get the enhanced capabilities with Office documents, but you have all of this functionality for any type of file, whether it's an Office document or an audio clip. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Mary, but
oh, that's okay.
Kind of add some context.
No, that's good. And then here's that other option too that I couldn't remember off the top of my head what the expirations were, but a day, 30, 60, and then you can customize it. So if you want to do, say, 7 days, give them a week or whatever, you can designate what that expiration is going to be for that. Because obviously there should be some sort of expiration for certain things that we're going to be sending to people. So, okay, other questions?
Lots of them. Those are good questions here. So when somebody's asking, okay, we see how we do this with documents, but does it work the same way as with audio? It looks like we kind of covered that. Yeah, if you give edit permissions, you can basically give somebody the ability to overwrite that. So
right.
You definitely can share audio though.
And you also can share something else you can do is if you had a folder and you shared the folder instead of the file, you could have a folder called Henry's Buick, and you could share that entire folder with a customer. That customer would then, if you gave them a link to modify that folder instead of a file, they'd then have the ability to upload anything that fit into that folder, right? Could be Word documents, could be audio, could be any file type. They'd have the ability to add content and share it directly into your 365. So be careful not to share the top level folders. You'd want just to create vendor folders by explicit vendor and share that folder with just that vendor so that you could communicate that way.
Is there a size restriction, a file size restriction?
No.
You just basically have your bin size, right, with the 1 terabyte total size, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Does view only allow the sharee to download the file?
Yes.
You just can't modify it on the server then, is what it sounds like.
Right, so they would not be able to modify your copy of it. So if they're not a trusted source if they have no business changing the file, your file, because they could basically delete it if you give them that edit permission.
Right. So I'm getting a couple questions about transferring like Dropbox files over. So if I'm using Dropbox, how to move that over. So let's make this kind of a two-part question. One, are we replacing only Dropbox with this, but what are some other services people might be using that we're trying to replace, and what are the policy, are we implementing policy, and then how do we go about moving everything?
So the intention is for this to be the preferred solution. We're trying to sell it. I think all of us on the call that are talking here believe this is a better solution. If a customer demands Dropbox, we're going to respect that at this point. But the goal is this is an easier way for you guys to benefit from it. So the intention is that it's more something we're trying to get from that angle. We do intend on eliminating the Dropbox software in the company and moving to just using the web services if that's a requirement for a customer. The other comparable things are Apple has a file service. Do you remember the name of it off the top of your head, Matt?
Yeah, iCloud.
Yeah, okay. And there's a couple of other ones, but basically any cloud storage, we're looking to move it to the Microsoft platform. It is basically as simple as if you have both clients installed, you can pick up the group of files and copy them from Dropbox into the Microsoft solution. It's pretty easy. I think that's something we would help people on a case-by-case basis rather than we didn't really set up to do a demo of that, but it is possible, and it is fairly easy to make that transition. You made that transition, correct?
I made that transition. It's really easy. I mean, if you use Dropbox now, you're going to have a folder on your machine labeled Dropbox, probably. Once you create your OneDrive folder, if you call it OneDrive or whatever, you're literally just going to drag and drop your files from the one service to the other, and that's literally all you have to do. And in theory, you could probably sync your Dropbox folder to OneDrive. It's a really very simple process, especially if you're already using one of these services. It's going to look and feel very similar, but it'll give you a lot more options, quite frankly, in sharing and actually protecting your files. So that's one reason I'm way behind it, is especially the security aspect of it all. So here's a really good question. Can we also share using the group options, like with our distribution groups that we've set up in our global address book?
If they're in the global address book, you should be able to. Can you go back to that, Mary? Can you right-click on one of these and share it?
All right. So if I go back in here, let's see.
Type in exclamation point saga underscore. No, you can't, I guess. It looks like it's only picking up the users. It's not picking up distribution groups. It's a good point, and it's something I'll do a little bit more research on and see if there's not a way to make that easier. It is something where if you pick out all the users once, Mary showed the options as far as communicating to everybody on that list, but I'll do a little bit more review on that question.
Good. And I got a question about, like, do all of our Office users have access to this? I know we have different levels of licenses. Do all of our Office licenses cover OneDrive?
So yes, but to varying degrees. So the E3 license, which gives people the full version of Office on their desktop, will include the syncing to the computer and all of that functionality. The web component, I believe, is entirely limited to using it from the web. So you'd have to use the web application. You can still upload files to it. Mary kind of showed the differences, so there's a little bit more work with the cheaper E1 licensing.
All right. Those are all the questions I have here. Certainly, if you have any other questions, you can send them in to helpdesk@sagacom.com. That hits the IT group. They can help you out. I'm happy to help you out if you have questions, since I've been kind of down this recently. And we are recording this. I'm going to post it to our Saga YouTube account. We'll distribute that if anybody else wants to sit through this again or have somebody else on your team review it. And that's all I have. Mary, Tracy, anything else?
I don't think so.
One thing I want to touch on from the beginning of the presentation is actually, I think it came out this week that Microsoft changed. There's a Windows 10 client built in for business one, or for the consumer OneDrive thing, which was at the beginning of the presentation. Microsoft has actually released a registry key hack which will probably mature in the coming days, that allows the Windows 10 product to actually be used with the business product going forward. So it is an ongoing thing that Microsoft is enhancing the support for, but that is there are continuing to be more integrations and more support from the Windows 10 platform to the Microsoft OneDrive business platform. Sorry, Mary, you were saying something too?
Oh, I was just saying I don't think I had anything else, but I guess, yeah, thanks for having me for this, and let you guys have any questions that come your way, or if I can be of any help, let me know.
Will do.
Appreciate having you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See ya. Bye-bye.